And then I had a life-changing experience in the late 60s. There was this football game being played on national television. My family and I were sitting in the living room or in the den, and just like most typical families, we were watching the game, and it just happened to be UCLA playing USC for a berth in the Rose Bowl. And SC was losing the game with minutes to go. And they handed the ball, the quarterback handed the ball to this pretty average running back at the time. I don't know if you ever heard of him. His name was O.J. Simpson. And O.J. cuts to his left, races back to his right, and goes on for a 64-yard touchdown run to win the game for USC. Well, there was something about that run. There was something about the enthusiasm of the crowd in the Los Angeles Coliseum. But what got me and captivated me was this amazingly beautiful Arabian white horse with a Trojan mascot sitting on the back of it, which would gallop around the Coliseum floor each time SC scored. And so my dad, who was sitting next to me at the time, I said, "Hey, Dad, you know, that's the school I'm going to." And he's ducking my mom right now. He knows what I'm about to say. And he looked at me and got real quiet in the room. And he said, "Boy, you done lost your mind." And I'm sure what he was thinking was that this young man had never been on an airplane before, had never really traveled that far outside of North Carolina, maybe to go down to South Carolina to see my grandmother. I had $50 in a suitcase, and I ventured out to the West Coast. Much of our lives, I think, are inextricably linked to other people. You know, no one has their success on their own. And I was quite fortunate and blessed to have my brother, Tyrone, and a friend named Perry Nichols, who were out on the West Coast and sent word back to the North Carolina area that I could possibly make it in California. And so the combination of these events that took place with O.J. making this run, the encouragement that I received from Tyrone and Perry and Lawrence Williams, I think those things working together really motivated me to want to go to the West Coast. And so I ventured out to the same school that Perry and Tyrone were at, Los Angeles City College. And we were able to go to the state championship, had some great runs with Perry hitting him on some nice routes and making a lot of thrilling plays. And then I was picked up by the University of Southern California. And during that time, there was a lot of racial mail that I would get. You know, the alumni really didn't want me to be their quarterback. I mean, when you think about the history of USC, in their lineage, they didn't have very many African-American quarterbacks. But you know, I had a head coach named John Robinson who went to the alumni and said, if we're going to do anything significant as a team, we're going to have to do it with Vince Evans as our quarterback. And to this day, I honor Coach Robinson for his courage and for his class. Much like if you follow history, what Branch Rickey did for Jackie Robinson. Were it not a Branch Rickey, there would be no Jackie Robinson. Our team was significant. In 1977, as Rich indicated, we went to the Rose Bowl, played against Michigan. And I had the good fortune of being named the most valuable player in that game. And if you're listening, Coach Robinson, I want to thank you again for your integrity and for giving me the opportunity to play quarterback for you and your team. It was indeed a great honor. My professional career began as a quarterback when I was drafted by the Chicago Bears in 1977. Coach Armstrong reminded me so much of Coach Robinson, with his good character. He always kept his word. I had great respect for him. As a young rookie, being far from home, I received a lot of encouragement from Coach Robinson. I was also greatly encouraged by Walter Payton, who was one of the greatest NFL running backs in the history of the game. And what I admired about him was his work ethic. He reminded me so much of my parents. Both in education, they went to work every day for 30 years plus. And I can count on one hand the number of days that they missed. Walter Payton was a consummate professional. It also reminded me of a childhood experience working on a friend of the family named Miss Phillips. Her daddy had a farm, and I used to go to that farm every weekend. I enjoyed it so much. We used to get up at 4:30 in the morning and start our day. And I used to hang tobacco and bale hay and feed the pigs. These activities were actually benchmarks toward learning a solid work ethic. Walter Payton added to that work ethic by encouraging me to work a little harder, a little better, a little longer than I thought that I could. And from those values, I was able to excel in the National Football League. And I see some young folks out here tonight. And the way that I did that is I ran extra sprints after practice. I lifted extra weights. I looked at that film yet one more time. I was the first one on the field and one of the last ones to come off the field. And it paid off. The press said that I could always be counted on, either coming off the bench or as a starter. As a professional player, you must be ready at all times. You must go out there and make things happen. And these are my secrets to success for those of you who are aspiring to have a successful career in sports. And many of you here, I'm sure, recognize that to participate in professional sports is a rare opportunity. There are 300 million people that live in our country. And there are only 3,400 jobs in the 4 top sport teams. And if you're chosen to be on one of those teams, the average is about 3.5 years. So if you think about the fact that I had the great privilege of playing for 17 years in the National Football League, I count myself very blessed to have been able to play around some of the best athletes in the world.